Hello and welcome to the Budding Buzz. I'm Ashwini Patil.
Hi, I'm Palashi Mathur, and to begin with, let's have a look at the headlines.
Millions of acres in California and other parts of US burn as wildfires rage. The monsoon session of parliament begins amid the ongoing pandemic. China spies millions of Indians, the investigation of Indian Express reveals. And worst economic slowdown in a decade poses challenge for the Indian economy.
Fires have been raging in California, Oregon, and Washington for 4 weeks now. Fanned by winds amid record heat, blazes have burned millions of acres, destroyed thousands of homes, and many are killed. Let's speak to our correspondent Amisha for further details.
Yes, there have been 35 fatalities and more than 6,000 structures damaged. In Washington state, where more than 500,000 acres have burned, a 1-year-old boy died as his family raced to escape fast-moving flames. In Oregon, fires have burned more than 90,000 acres and leveled entire neighborhood in what the state governor Kate Brown described as possibly the greatest loss of human life and property due to wildfire in our state's history. We do have to do management maintenance and we'll be working also with environmental group, said President Donald Trump while visiting California to survey the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in the state's history. Even migratory birds drop dead in hundreds of thousands. Wildfire may have contributed to their death, biologists add. Also, it has forced thousands of people to flee their homes. As of September 6, California passed the record for the worst year in the history for the amount of damaged land. Research shows that changes in climate that create warmer, drier conditions, increased drought, and a longer fire season are boosting this increasing in wildfire risk.
The 18 days monsoon session of the parliament has started from Monday after a considerable delay due to the ongoing pandemic. This session has to witness a lot of firsts, and thus we have our correspondent Vishwajit with us. Vishwajit, please update us about the session.
जी अश्विनी, देश में जारी कोरोना महामारी के बीच सोमवार को संसद का मानसून सत्र शुरू हो गया है। इसमें सभी सांसद कोविड-19 के दिशा निर्देशों का पालन करते हुए नजर आए। सरकार ने स्पष्ट किया है कि 18 दिनों के इस सत्र में 18 विधेयक और कुल 47 विषयों को उठाया जाएगा। कोरोना की स्थिति के कारण लोकसभा और राज्यसभा की कार्यवाही के समय को 4 घंटे कम कर दिया गया है। इस सत्र के दौरान संसद की कार्यवाही हफ्ते के 7 दिन चलेगी। इसी बीच शून्यकाल और प्रश्नकाल को समाप्त कर दिया गया है, जिसके कारण विपक्ष काफी नाराज है। संसद में सत्ता और विपक्ष के बीच गहमागहमी देखी गई। ओवैसी और अधीर रंजन चौधरी जैसे नेताओं ने प्रश्नकाल समाप्त होने पर दुख जताया है और कहा है कि लोकतंत्र की गला घोटने की कोशिश की जा रही है। सत्र के पहले दिन यानी कि सोमवार को आयुष मंत्रालय द्वारा एक बिल पेश किया गया, नेशनल कमीशन फॉर होम्योपैथी बिल और नेशनल कमीशन फॉर इंडियन सिस्टम ऑफ मेडिसिन बिल 2020, जिसे पास कर दिया गया है। वहीं लोकसभा के बाद अब राज्यसभा में भी वायुयान संशोधन विधेयक 2020 पास कर दिया गया है। आपको बताते चले कि इस बिल को बजट सत्र के दौरान लोकसभा में पास किया गया था। वहीं राजद सांसद मनोज झा को हरा एनडीए प्रत्याशी हरिवंश राज्यसभा के उपसभापति चुने गए। सत्र के दूसरे दिन रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह ने लोकसभा में लद्दाख में चल रहे भारत चीन सीमा विवाद पर बयान दिया। उन्होंने कहा कि चीन के सैनिकों ने दोबारा घुसपैठ की कोशिश की, लेकिन एक बार फिर हमारे जवानों ने इसे नाकाम कर दिया। वहीं कांग्रेस सांसदों ने सदन से वॉकआउट किया, कहा कि चीन मुद्दे पर उन्हें बोलने नहीं दिया गया। रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह लोकसभा के बाद गुरुवार को भारत चीन सीमा पर जारी विवाद को लेकर ऊपरी सदन में बयान दिया। और आपको बता दें कि विपक्ष के विरोध के बावजूद लोकसभा में कृषि विधेयक पास हो गया। एनडीए के सहायक पार्टी शिरोमणि अकाली दल के नेता और फूड प्रोसेसिंग इंडस्ट्रीज मिनिस्टर हरसिमरत कौर बादल ने इस्तीफा दे दिया है और राष्ट्रपति कोविंद द्वारा उनका इस्तीफा स्वीकार भी कर लिया गया है। और इस पर पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री ने इसे चुनावी नौटंकी बताया है। अब देखना बाकी रहेगा कि आगे क्या क्या होता है इस सत्र में, क्योंकि बहुत ऐसे मुद्दे हैं जिस पर चर्चा होना बाकी है जिन पर चर्चा होना बाकी है।
Personal details of millions of people from around the world have been swept up in our database. It was compiled by a Chinese company with reported links to Chinese military and intelligence. Let's dive in details with our correspondent Shashank.
Yes, Palashi, the Indian Express on 15 September came out with the first part of its ongoing investigation. In the investigation, it accused a Shenzhen based tech company, Zhenhua Data Information Technology Company, of creating a database, Overseas Key Information Database, or OKIDB. The OKIDB has information of about 10,000 influential Indian people. It includes our President Ramnath Kovind, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, key opposition leaders, chief ministers of many states, and it also includes people from other fields such as businessmen, journalists, and even petty criminals. OKIDB has also information of many more people from across the world. OKIDB has came out with the help of a source working within the company who understandably doesn't want to be named. The Indian Express, along with the Australian Financial Review, Italy's El Foglio, and the Daily Telegraph London, with the help of a professor in Vietnam, Christopher Balding, have decrypted the data within the course of 2 months, and they say it's just the tip of the iceberg. The Chinese company, when it was first asked to comment, did not comment, but now it has came out with a statement that it collects the data from only open sources and does not work with the Chinese government. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has also given a statement saying that it does not work with the company, but the report had said that they have had past ties. The government of India has also set up a special committee under the National Cyber Security Coordinator, retired Lieutenant General Rajesh Pant, who will study the implications of the data collection over the course of 30 days. Thank you. Back to you.
India has entered a major economic slowdown. The economy has fallen on hard times. Thus, our correspondent Palashi is with us to inform us about the many factors contributing to the slowdown and also the predictions that are creating stern concerns for our economy. Over to you, Palashi.
Indian economy was showing a downward curve since the beginning of the year. The stringent COVID-19 lockdown has made the situation worse. International Monetary Fund has predicted that the Indian GDP will contract by 4.5% in the current financial year, making it the worst hit economy. IMF's predictions are in line with financial institutions and other rating agencies. The Indian GDP has not seen a contraction since 1979, so this will be uncharted territory even for the government. A slowdown of such magnitude will have enormous human consequences. The loss of 3 months' income might lead half the population of the country in the myriad of poverty, reversing all the gains made since the 1991 LPG reforms. Worse, the finances of the government are strained. Tax revenues are set to crash, and the relatively stable debt to GDP ratio may spike up to 90%. Controlling the spread of the pandemic will bleed government resources, and little will be left for the welfare measures that are essential in the coming months. These pressures explain why the government lifted the lockdown even before the spread of the COVID could be controlled. India is now the second most COVID affected country in the world. As of Thursday, India had crossed the active 10 lakh COVID-19 cases mark. The country may be partly protected by the tide of deaths due to its favorable age distribution. But in the coming times, we might again see a few lockdowns due to the inadequate health infrastructure. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, it was a feat in itself to organize a sports event, let alone run a US Open successfully. Let's talk to our correspondent Ashwini to know what the US Open brought for the viewers and the fans. Over to you, Ashwini.
Well, the 2020 US Open is definitely a tournament that both the fans and the players will never forget. We saw some outstanding tennis on the court and some unusual situations off it. But the fact that we witnessed a major sports tournament winding up successfully amid this pandemic situation is a big achievement in itself. Starting with the champions. At the end of the fortnight, Dominic Thiem scripted history as he became the first ever Australian to win a Grand Slam after defeating Alexander Zverev in a nail-biting thriller. Naomi Osaka won the women's single title, and she was definitely a tough nut to break throughout the tournament. Heading on to the doubles events, For the men's doubles, we had Pavic and Saurus having their moment at the US Open as they won the title first time as a team. The women's double was won by Laura and Vera. The next on our list is the wheelchair events. Shingo won the wheelchair men's singles, whereas Didi Groot won the wheelchair women's singles. The wheelchair quad singles was won by Sam Schroeter, whereas the wheelchair quad doubles was won by Alcott and Andy. Some of the key factors of US Open 2020 is that we saw the emergence of the Canadian players and the Russian flag also flew high with Daniel and Andrei reaching the quarterfinals. The players of age group 22 and under reached the third round of the tournament, which is the best result for this age group since 1992. Next on our list is the exit of Novak from the tournament after he accidentally hit a line judge, but abiding to the rules and regulations of the tournament, he had to be eliminated. Well, all in all, the biggest champion of this tournament is the tournament itself. There were a lot of speculations as to how the US Tennis Association is planning a Grand Slam event amid this ongoing pandemic situation. And after some key players withdrew their name from this tournament, it just added more to the chaos. But we finally witnessed some live tennis, and surely this was a great sigh of relief for all the sports onlookers. The debate about the leadership of the Congress party was heated up after the top leaders wrote to interim Congress President Sonia Gandhi seeking some major changes in the party. To update us about this matter, we have our correspondent Kanchan with us. Kanchan?
In recent years, we have witnessed many political development in our country. If we talk about 2020, Congress party have been in headlines because of its internal issues, from the old and young issue in Rajasthan to Congress presidentship. Now, after 7 hours meeting on August 24, Congress party have decided Sonia Gandhi will remain its interim president for now and new chief will be elected in next 6 months. On September 11, Congress party made major changes in the organization. These changes were made by Sonia Gandhi, the Congress president, before going to America for health checkup. Sonia Gandhi had formed 5-member special team. This team will help her in day-to-day matter. She reconstituted the party's Central Election Authority, which will conduct the poll to elect the new president, revamped the highest decision-making body, the Central Working Committee, and removed some key faces, including senior leader Ghulam Nabi Azad and Mallikarjun as general secretaries. However, both of them were retained in CWC. This decision was taken against the backdrop of 23 leaders, including 4 CWC members, writing a letter to Sonia Gandhi on August 7. This letter talks about the permanent leadership of the party.
Afghanistan has had 5 regime changes in the last 40 years. Its citizens have long craved for stability. The inter-Afghan talks are potential roadmap for ending all the bloodshed and for a prosperous Afghanistan. Let's speak to our correspondent Hamad for the updates.
The intra-Afghan peace talks have one goal, and that is to end violence in Afghanistan. These talks, which are already very challenging, have only become more so with the ongoing pandemic. These talks come after the Taliban already agreed with the peace deal with the United States on February 29, 2020. However, the Taliban continue to be hostile towards the Afghanistan security forces. The Taliban agreed to stop financing terror around the world and not attack the US security forces. United States, in exchange, has agreed to withdraw troops and completely phase out by the end of 2022. And this will be only possible with a permanent ceasefire. However, on the other hand, the Afghan government has been accused of rigging the last 2 elections. Dr. Abdullah, who is a main member of the peace talks, is also the leader of opposition. However, the incumbent Ashraf Ghani denies any wrongdoing. During these talks, the rights of minorities and women will be discussed. The other important issues include prisoner swaps and the disarming of current Taliban fighters. Along with this, they will also discuss power sharing and constitutional changes, which will in the end decide whether Afghanistan is a republic, a democracy, or an emirate. The current situation is very tense as women, who make up 20% of Afghanistan's government, have a hard time dealing with the Taliban representatives. The US, on the other hand, sees this as a great win, as Donald Trump called it a useless war since 2010 and reiterated his desire to leave Afghanistan on multiple occasions since 2016. The Taliban on its own has not been a stable organization, with factions inside having strained relations with warlords and local tribesmen. India has invested in Afghanistan in the last decade a lot, and this is due to the stability provided by the US-backed troops. However, now Indian assets have continuously faced the wrath of the Haqqani faction, which is a major part of the Taliban. This will not be good for India. And if Afghanistan is led by a Taliban government, then India will have to reprioritize its priorities.
Thousands of people have been affected due to heavy floods in Nagpur, Chandrapur, Bhandara and Gadchiroli districts of Maharashtra's Vidarbha region. Bhandara has been the worst affected area, and to update us about the situations there, we have our correspondent Swejal with us. Swejal?
महाराष्ट्र के विदर्भ भाग में वैनगंगा नदी के पानी के बढ़ने की वजह से हाल ही में बाढ़ स्थिति निर्माण हुई थी। बात करें भंडारा की, तो भंडारा जिले में गोसेखुर्द डैम के सभी 33 दरवाजे खोल दिए जाने की वजह से नदी के किनारे बसे हुए सभी गांव में बाढ़ जैसी हालत हो गई थी। भंडारा जिले के करीब 58 गाँवों में 2246 परिवारों का नुकसान हुआ है। बताया जा रहा है कि एमपी में आई भारी बाढ़ की वजह से उधर के डैम के दरवाजे खोले गए, जिस वजह से एमपी के बाढ़ का पानी पूरा विदर्भ में घुस गया। पहले दिन लोगों को कोई सुविधा नहीं दी गई, ऐसे वहाँ के लोगों का कहना है। बेघर लोगों की मदद करने के लिए भी कई लोग उतरे। पानी इतना बढ़ता चला गया कि लोगों को अपने घर छोड़ के दूसरी जगह जाना पड़ा। दूसरे दिन एनडीआरएफ और रेस्क्यू टीम के जरिए बाढ़ में फंसे लोगों को सुरक्षित बाहर निकाला गया। इससे पहले 1994 में बाढ़ स्थिति निर्माण हुई थी, जिसके कारण 2007 में गोसेखुर्द डैम वैनगंगा नदी पर बनाया गया। लोगों का कहना है कि पानी छोड़ने से पहले उन्हें कोई अलर्ट नहीं दिया गया था, उन्हें बस इतना कहा गया था कि पानी रात भर में कम हो जाएगा, पर पानी बढ़ते ही चला गया और लोगों के घर में घुस गया। अभी बढ़ते कोरोना काल में बाढ़ परिस्थिति देखने लोगों की भीड़ उमड़ पड़ी थी, जिसके वजह से रोड पर जाम हो गया था। फिलहाल बाढ़ का पानी कम हो गया है, पर लोगों के नुकसान की भरपाई अब कौन करेगा, यह सवाल पैदा हो रहा है। स्वेजल कांबळे, भंडारा।
After the Supreme Court stayed the implementation of Maratha reservation, tensions have risen. Protests have taken place in Pune, Kolhapur and Jalna against the state. Let's speak to our correspondent Manjusha to know what's stirring up in Maharashtra.
होय, ज्याप्रमाणे सर्वोच्च न्यायालयाने मराठा आरक्षणाच्या अंमलबजावणीला स्थगिती दिल्यानंतर हे प्रकरण जास्त वाढू नये म्हणून राज्य सरकार सावध झालेलं आहे। आधीच राज्यात मराठा नेत्यांनी लोकप्रतिनिधीच्या घराबाहेर आंदोलनं सुरू केलेली आहेत आणि एकूणच या प्रकारातला असलेला संभ्रम दूर करण्यासाठी राज्य सरकारचं कर्तव्य आहे। त्यामुळे सरकारने सह्याद्री गेस्ट हाऊसवर सर्वपक्षीय नेत्यांची बैठक नेमण्यात आली होती व एकंदरीतच या बैठकीनंतर मुख्यमंत्र्यांनी प्रसारमाध्यमांशी संपर्क साधत असं म्हटलं आहे की तज्ज्ञांची मते जाणून घेऊन 2-3 दिवसात जो काही निर्णय घेण्यात येईल व यामागेच होत असलेल्या आंदोलनं व नागरिकांचे आक्रमक स्वरूप लक्षात घेऊन असं सांगितलं आहे की आंदोलनं करण्याची काहीही गरज नाही आहे, सरकार तुमच्या सोबत आहे असं त्यांनी सांगितलं आहे। मुख्यमंत्र्यांनी आंदोलन न करण्याचं आवाहन जरी केलं असलं तरी मराठी संघटनांचा राग काही अद्यापही शांत झालेला नाही आहे। त्यामुळेच आंदोलकांनी थेट मंत्र्यांना घेरा घालत त्यांच्या घरासमोर निदर्शने करण्यात येत आहेत व याचबरोबर सरकारने पोलीस मेकाभरती सुरू करून मराठ्यांच्या जखमेवर मीठ चोळण्याचं काम करत आहेत असं वक्तव्य विधानसभेचे विरोधी पक्षनेते प्रवीण दरेकर यांनी केलं आहे। सरकारने पोलीस भरती जाहीर केल्यानंतर जनतेमध्ये प्रचंड मोठ्या प्रमाणात अस्वस्थता निर्माण झाली आहे, कारण आरक्षणाचा मुद्दा अद्यापही सुटलेला नाही आहे व म्हणूनच मराठा क्रांती मोर्चाने मुंबईमध्ये आंदोलन करण्याचं ठरवलं आहे। येत्या रविवारी आरक्षणासाठी हे आंदोलन होणार आहे व सर्व आमदार व खासदारांना निवेदन देण्यात आली आहेत। लॉकडाऊनचे सर्व नियम पाळूनच हे आंदोलन होईल असं वक्तव्य मराठी समाज बांधवांनी केलं आहे।
Well, that's it for now. Stay tuned to the channel.
Until then, goodbye.